एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू आवर चैनल दैट इज़ गवर्नमेंट दृश, जहाँ पे आपको मिलते हैं एग्ज़ाम रिलेटेड कॉन्सेप्ट्स, वो भी इन अ डिटेल्ड वे. एंड वी ऑल्सो प्रोवाइड यू विद सच मटेरियल्स विच विल हेल्प यू इन मैनी कम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स सच एज UPSC, BPSC, नेट, CGL, SSC एंड मैनी मोर. और लास्ट सीरीज़ में हमने कवर किया था वैदिक एज, और उसी सीरीज़ और पार्ट का अनदर जो पार्ट लेफ्ट आउट है वो है ऋग्वेदिक और अर्ली वैदिक पीरियड, जो एग्जिस्ट करता था 1500 BC से 1000 BC तक. तो आज जानेंगे इसके बारे में इन अ डिटेल वे एज वेल एज लेटर वैदिक पीरियड ऑल्सो. तो इस वीडियो को एंड तक देखिए और ग्रैब करिए सारे नॉलेज विच इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, और नोट्स बनाएं, पेन और नोटबुक रेडी रखिए. एंड डू नॉट फॉरगेट टू लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब आवर चैनल एज वेल, क्योंकि ऐसे ही वीडियोस आपको मिलते रहेंगे जहाँ पे आपको मिलेंगे एग्ज़ाम रिलेटेड कॉन्सेप्ट्स. और ये हम लोगों का ल्यूकन सीरीज़ का पार्ट 1 है, जहाँ हम लोग कवर कर रहे हैं एशियंट हिस्ट्री. तो चलिए अब स्टार्ट करेंगे ऋग्वेदिक और अर्ली वैदिक पीरियड के जोग्राफिकल एरिया से. So we all know that Rigveda is the only source of knowledge for this period. It is one of the oldest texts. तो early Vedic period में ऋग्वेदा ही था. And from the name of rivers, that is Himvant, that is Himalaya, Munjavant, that is Hindu Kush, and ocean in Rigveda. हम लोग इन सब चीज़ों से we have a clear idea of the geographical area in which Rigvedic people used to live. अब ऋग्वेदा में 40 रिवर्स के बारे में भी मेंशन किया गया है. एंड द नदी सोक्ता हिम ऑफ द ऋग्वेदा इट मेंशंस 21 रिवर्स, जहाँ पे गंगा दैट इज गैंगेस इन द ईस्ट एंड कुबा काबुल इन द वेस्ट का भी मेंशन है. ऋग्वेदिक पीपल जो थे वो खुद को आर्यंस मानते थे एंड वेर कन्फाइंड इन द एरिया दैट इज केम टू बी नोन एज सप्त सिंधु, लैंड ऑफ द 7 रिवर्स. वी हैव लर्न अबाउट दिस इन आवर लास्ट पार्ट एज वेल. एंड सप्त सिंधु में क्या कौन से रिवर्स थे उनके बारे में भी जानते हैं. दैट इज सिंधु एंड द 5 ट्रिब्यूटरीज विच इज़ वितास्ता, असिकमी, विपास, परुष्मी, सुतदारी एंड सरस्वती. So these are the 5 territories. Now, according to the Rigveda, the most mentioned river was Sindhu, and the most pious river, the most holy river, was Saraswati. There was also the mention of the Ganges 1 time and Yamuna 3 times. Okay, so this Sapta Sindhu and the tributaries is very important. Make a note of that. And also this Veda's name and another name of Himalaya and another name of Hindu Kush is also very important. Like in what names where they have been mentioned in the Rigveda, such questions can come. Now we will move to the Dasrajan War, that is the Battle of 10 Kings. Now according to Rigveda, we know about the Dasrajan War, which is very famous, and it was the war among the Aryans. It gave names of 10 kings. Now let's know about the 10 kings who participated in a war against Sudas, who was Bharata king of Tristos family. Okay, this is very important, against whom this Dasrajan war was fought against, and also who was the Bharata king of which family. And this 10 kings with the states of Purus, Yadus, Dursvasas, Anus and Druhus, along with 5 others, that was Alinas, Paktas, Phalanas, Siddhis and Vishanis. Okay, so these are the name of the 10 kings. Now the battle that was fought was on the bank of river Parushni, or we can also say Ravi, in which Sudas emerged victorious. So this Darshana king, they fought against Sudas, but who was victorious? Sudas. Okay, so this is the table. Make a note of that. This is important. Here we know about the Rigvedic names, their modern names and their region. There are common region, Punjab, Rajasthan, Afghanistan, and here is Sindhu, that is present modern name, or we can say the present day name. Like for Sindhu it's Indus, Vitasta is Chelam, Asikani Chenab, Vipas, Bees, Parushni, Ravi, then Sutudri, Satluj, Saraswati, Saraswati, Drishavati, Ghagar, Kubha, Kabul, Suvastu, Swati, Krumu, Kuram, Gomati, Gomal. So here is the name of the regions. These are the modern names. Make a note of all of this. It can be coming in the form of questions. So what is the present name of Sutudri and what its region. Now let's know about the polities. Till now we knew about the geography of the early Vedic period. Now let's know about the polities. First comes the Kula, or we know as families, another name, and it was the basis of both social and political organization. Now, above the Kula, there were Grama, the West, the Jana, the Rashtra, and a group of Kula together on totality, it was known as families, formed a Grama. That is, all the Kulas, that families made up a Grama, a village. Now, these are the units, and these are the heads. Now, regarding the form of government, it was of patriarchal nature. We all know patriarchy used to exist in those times, and monarchy was normal, but non-monarchical polities were also there. Yes, that's a very important measure, that non-monarchical polities used to also exist in the early Vedic period. Now, the Rashtra, that was ruled by a king of Rajan, is take a note of that, and the royal descendant was by hereditary based on the law of primogeniture. Now, probably elective monarchy was also known. Okay, this is just for a general understanding, this much is okay. Now, very little known is about the ministers of the king. Now we have the Purohita, or domestic priest, which was the first ranking official. Now he was the king's preceptor, friend, philosopher, and guide. Now other important royal officials were Senani, whose another name was army chief, and then we have Gramani, that was known as the head of village. The army consisted of foot soldiers and charioteers as well, and there is also mention of wood, stone, bone, and metals which were used in weapons. As it was a time period of early Vedic period, these are the most common weapons or tools which were used in the form of retaliation, war, and even for defense protections. Then arrows were tipped with points of metal or poisoned horn. References are made to the moving fort, that is Porcharishnu, and a machine for assaulting strongholds. Now this is a paragraph which is mostly for general knowledge or for just minor knowledge, but the most important was the geography part. Please make a note of that. The king also had religious duties. He was the upholder. This is the common nature of the kings or the features. Now, Rigveda speaks of assemblies. This is important. What were the assemblies? It was Sabha, Samiti, Vidat, and Gana. And Sabha was committee of few privileged and important individuals. There were two popular assemblies, which were Sabha and Samiti. Now, territory, stealing of cattle, cheating were some of the prevent crimes. Okay, this is for in general. Now let's know about the society which existed in the early Vedic period. Now the Rigvedic society comprised of 4 varnas, which means that there was an existence of the fourfold varna system or the hierarchy, that was Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Now this classification of society was based on the profession or occupation. I mean, what the people used to do. Professional occupation generally means that according to their profession, like Brahmanas used to perform rituals, Kshatriyas were the ones who used to go to war, Vaishyas were businessmen or merchants, Shudras were the laborers. So these are on the basis of the work they used to do. Like see here, it's given in a detailed way. Teachers and priests, Brahmanas. Okay. Brahmanas. Then we have rulers, we're called Kshatriyas. Okay. Kshatriyas. This section is very important. Okay, this Brahmana section is very important. This I have highlighted it. Now, these vocations are followed by persons according to their ability and liking, and the occupation and not become hereditary as they become later known. Okay, in this time it was prevalent that fourfold varna system existed, but it was not mandatory that according to that only people will be classified. But after that it became hereditary. Like Brahmanas children used to be Brahmanas only, Kshatriyas children used to be Kshatriyas only. After this period it became hereditary. Now, members of the same family took to different professions and belong to different varnas. Okay, so in this period, members of the same family, like a Brahmin family, can go into Kshatriyas or be a merchant as well, as it was well illustrated in the hymn of the Rigveda. And we can also see that hymn name. I am a singer, my father is a physician, my mother is a grinder of corn. Okay, so this is the mention of the hymn from the Rig Veda. Now, the unit of society was primarily monogamous and patriarchal. Child marriage was not in vogue. Now, a widow could marry the younger brother of her deceased husband, which was known as Nyoka. Father's property was inherited by son. Like, then we have right to property, which existed in respect of movable things. Like, there was a right that was given to people, but only in respect of movable things, not immovable things, like cattle, horse, gold ornaments. And immovable property, just like land and house, people had the right to property, that yes, it was their property, so they have an ownership on it. Now, the home of the teacher was the school. We know about this gurukulas, where the home of the teachers were referred to as the schools. The milk and its products, curd, butter, and ghee, formed an important part of the diet, and there is also a mention of grain cooked with milk. Shira pakamodanam. Okay. Then there is meat of fish, birds, and animals. Then the cow was already deemed aghanya, that is not to be killed. Okay, the cows were referred to as aghanya, which means that cows were not meant to be killed. It was referred to as a sacred animal. Rigveda also prescribes a penalty of death or expulsion from the kingdom. Though, okay, so as it was exempted, so if there's any case where people are found to kill or injure cows, that penalty was also given, or they were also expelled from the kingdom. And even during this time, alcohol drinks such as Sura and Suma were also consumed. Aryans were primarily agricultural and pastoral people who used to from one place, not from one place. They were not wanderers, they were engaged in agricultural things. Okay, now amusements, which like entertainment, you can also refer to this as entertainment if you are not much accustomed with the word amusement. It means entertainment during that time, which included music, dancing, chariot racing, ticing. Like, there is a reference of one stanza from Rigveda: my wife rejects me and her mother hates me, which is a gambler's lament. Now let's know about the religion. Religion was prevalent in the Rigvedic period, especially during the early Vedic period, which existed between the 1500 BC to 1000 BCE. And during the Rigvedic time, the gods worshipped were generally the personified powers of nature. Usually, the nature was worshipped at that time, like sun, the trees, the nature, air, water. Okay, and divine powers were capable of. Okay, so they were also and believed that divine powers, the earthly powers, were also had the capability to give punishments, boon. Boon means good, benefit, fortune. Fire was sacred as regarded to the intervening man and woman. Man and God, pardon. Fire was referred to as a very sacred thing, a very holy or pious thing, which acted as a bridge between the man and God. Now, there were nearly 33 gods. Now, later day tradition classified them into three categories, that is terrestrial, which also have a name, that is Prithvisthana, aerial or intermediate, that is Antarkristhana, and celestial, that is Tusthana god. Please make a note of all of these. I'll be highlighting them so that you know it's quite important. And they have also made up in a we can see in a table wise, that is terrestrial, we can refer to as Prithvi, Agni, Soma, Brihaspati, and reverse. We also have aerial ones, that is Indra, Rudra, Vayu. Then celestial, Dayo, Surya. Now, Indra, Agni, and Varuna were the most popular deities of Rigvedic Aryans. Please make a note of this. Then we have Indra or Purandara, that is destroyer of fort, the most important god who played the role of warlord and was considered to be the rain god. Okay, if there is a question or there is a saying that whom do you think was the most important god, or who was considered or to play the role of warlord, we all know it will be Indra or Purandara. Then we have Agni, which is very prevalent, that it is referred to as fire, and it was the second most important god. And just make a note of that, how many rims were found in the Rigvedic dedicated to Indra, that is 250, and for Agni there are 200, quite near. That is why it is referred to as the second most important god which was prevalent at that time. So it was also considered to be the intermediary as a bridge between the gods and the people, which I have already mentioned and is already written. Now we will know about the Varuna, that is personified water, was supposed to hold Rit or the natural order. Now we have Surya, which we all know is referred to as the sun, who is to drive daily across the skies in chariot, which was drawn by 7 horses. These are the minor details which are given for the god, and it may have been deciphered. So these are the details. Okay, this is something which I've missed out, that Surya and sun was worshipped in 5 forms. Please go through the 5 forms which have been mentioned, that is Surya, Savitri, Mitra, Pushan and Vishnu. Savitri was the god of light. The famous Gayatri mantra is addressed to her. Okay, to which god of was the Gayatri mantra addressed to? This is a main question. Mitra was a solar god. Pushan was the god of marriage. Very specific form of gods have been mentioned to specific form of things or works or the field they are specialized in. So it's very easy to remember. Now we will be seeing the Vishnu, a god which covered earth in 3 steps, that is Upakrama. Now Soma, which is originally a plant producing a potent drink during courses of Agnishtoma sacrifice, that is also known as hemp or bhang. Okay, it's a plant which produced a pious drink during the Agnishtoma. And it's also called king of plants. It was identified later with the moon. Now this is important. The 9th mandala of Rigveda, which contains 114 hymns, is attributed to the Soma. That is why it's called the Soma mandala. Yes, this is important. Okay, so now there's also mention of other goddess as well. Now make a note that the Soma Mandal was called Soma Mandal because there is a reference of 114 hymns. Now other goddesses, that is Rudra, the god of animals. We have the Ayus, we have Natsya. Then some goddesses were visualized as animals, but there was no animal worship. Now let's know about the nature of the Rigvedic religious was henotheism. That is a belief in many gods, but each god standing out in turns as the highest. Now there is a reference of the religion primarily consists of okay, so these are the mention of the some goddess, that is Rudra, the Zeus, Yama, then Sindhu. Then we also have now let's know about the economy of the Aryans, that the Aryans crossed the nomadic stage, but yet they also looked for domestication of animals, still cattle rearing. Now they were not familiar with cat and camel. A tiger was also not known, but the wild animals like lion, elephant and boar were known to them. Very little of trade was also there. Money and markets were known, but they were not extensively used. Cow and gold ornaments of fixed value with the meat of exchange, which means that barter system existence. Coins were not known. There was also complexity in producing good. Then men of various professionals like carpenters, smiths, tanners, weavers and grinders of corns were there. The art of healing woods, which is just a medical field which you can see, which also existed at that time. There were also experts in surgery. Herbs and drug charms were also used. They also had pottery culture. This was the early Vedic period. Now let's move on to the later Vedic period, which existed between the 1000 BC to 600 BC. Now, geographical area during the later, which means after geographical areas, that the Aryan settlements covered virtually the whole of northern India, and it was known as the Aryavarta. Now, the center of culture now shifted from Saraswati to Ganges, that is Madhya Desa. Then there was mention of more rivers such as the Narmada, Sadanira, Chambal. Even the expansion of people also took place. And there is a mention of the Satapatha Brahmana, Videha mother, which migrated from the Saraswati region. They crossed the Sadanira, or you can say the river, and which also came to the land of the Videha. Then there was emergence of Janapadas such as Kuru, Purus, then Bharatas, Panchala, Kashi, etc., which was especially in the Doab region. There was also Vedic literature such as Vindhya Mountains. There was also reference to the territorial divisions such as the Aryavarta, Madhya Desa and Dakshinapath. Remember all the places, northern India, central India and southern India, these are other names. Let me clear that for you. Okay, so these are other names mentioned. Okay. Now, the polity of the later Vedic period was that there was large kingdoms and state cities were also there. There was also Taittiriya Brahmana, which was the theory of the divine origin of kingship. The government machinery also became more elaborative than before. People were more now dependent on the power of the king. More functionalities came. There were the Bhagaduta, that's collection of taxes. There was charioteer, Sarathi. There was Shastri, that is chamberlanism. There was courier services. Now, the military officials of the Rigvedic times, the Senani, were referred to as the general. Then we have Gramani, which was known as the head of the village. Then this is the Satapatha Brahmana. Please look into this. We have Puroveta priest, we know. And there is also mention of Brahmana, head of the village. We have known that earlier. Okay, these are the short names, which is very important, and it can come in the form of short questions. They also saw the period of the beginning of a regular system. There was Stapati. There was also Tapati being put over, and this was all the administration policies. Now, Adhikrita was the village official. There was Ugras, which was mentioned in the Upanishads. Okay, now the popular control over the affairs of the kingdom was exercised through Sabha and Samiti. We have known about this in the Vedic period, that is early Vedic period also, about this mention, that is Sabha and Samiti. Now, during the later Vedic times, king did not possess a standing army. Judiciary also grew. King played a great role. There was also capital offenses, and for which there was mention of many punishments. Now let's know about the society. As the time passed by, yajnas became more elaborative, which led to the more men known as the Brahmanas, and then Aryans also expanded to the east and south. Then group of people also known as Shastriyas emerged. There was also Vaishyas. We know Vaishyas as the merchants. There was also Shudras. There was division of society. There was also institution of the Gotra. The higher caste could marry with the lower ones, but marriage with Shudras was not permitted. Remember that. So these are the earliest four reference to the four ashrama stages of life: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. Okay. Status of women also declined. Then there were three evils according to the Maitrani Samhita. There was monogamy. There was no polygamy. Okay, women were prohibited to attend political assemblies. Okay, so this Yajnavalkya Gargi dialogue, which indicates that there was women who got higher education as well. See, this is the types of the Hindu marriage, that is Brahma Vivaha, giving the girl to a man with a dowry; Daiva Vivaha, that is giving the girl to the priest himself to lieu of his fees; then Arsha Vivaha, giving the girl to a man after accepting a bride piece; then we have Prajapati Vivaha, giving the girl to a man without demanding a bribe; then we have Gandhara Vivaha, love marriage; Asura Vivaha, that is marriage with a purchased girl; Rakshasa Vivaha, that is marriage with the daughter of a defeated king or with a kidnapped girl; then we have Pishacha Vivaha, that is married to a girl after seducing or raping her. Then we have Anumolya Vivaha, that is marriage between a bridegroom from an upper caste and bridegroom from a lower caste. Patronal Vivaha, that is revenge of Anuloma Vivaha. Then we have 16 samskaras, go through all of that. Then we have religion, that the earlier divines were Indra, Agni. Then we have Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra. Then we have Pushana, who protected cattle. And we also have Priyadaryana Upanishada, that was the first work to give the doctrine of transmigration and deeds. Then we have two varieties of sacrifices, that is Laghu Yajnas and Mahayajnas, and these were performed by householders. There's mention of everything. Go through that. And these were performed by kings, these were performed by the householders. Now there's four varieties: Rajashva Yajna, which was royal consecration, which used to last over a year, and there is Vajapaya Yajna, that is strength, which lasted up to 70 days. That was Ashwamedha Yajna, horse sacrifice, which lasted for 3 days. Agnishtama Yajna, which was sacrifice of animals, which related to Agni, which lasted for a year. Okay, there was emergence of strong reaction against then during the towards the end of the later Vedic period, people used to start reacting against the skulls. They started protesting against it. Then we have economy. Agriculture began to replace. Then rice, barley, all this and cultivation started. These are the occupations that came into being. And then we're also chariot maker, carpenter, hairdresser. Then we have also introduction of metal. Then we're also ganas, elder men. Okay, so this was the end of the later Vedic period. We have already notified you about the early Vedic period, later Vedic period. So this was the end of our Vedic age. I hope I could have notified you with all the essentials of the whole Vedic age that existed between the 1500 BC to 600 BCE. All have been mentioned here. Please go through all of it. I have marked the important ones, the smaller names, the important names, and make a note of all of that. And we'll come back in our next video with more such detailed knowledge regarding other such topics. Keep liking and sharing our videos, and do not forget to subscribe as well and share with your friends who are looking for to crack competitive exams like UPSC, SSC, and many more. See you.